Hey, I'm Yoad. Welcome to my studio. In this video, we're going to mix a song as if the year is 1985. So we're only going to use gear that was available back then. We're going to record everything to tape, record, and then we're going to run it through an SSL desk. And we're going to use some outboard gear, which was available back in 1985. Before we go back in time, let's fast forward a little bit and listen to how this song would have been mixed in 1985.
In the fairyland, you pay by the hour. You can still pretend as long as you pay by the hour. No one will bother. Come and say hello, my friend. You thought you figured it out, but baby, it's gonna cost you some. It's gonna cost. You wanna make mama proud, but baby, it's gonna cost you some. It's gonna cost.
So this is the session, and as you can see, there are many tracks. So there are about 96 tracks. Back then, that would not have been possible. You could use two 24-track tape machines running in sync, but that would have meant that you would have to record time code on track 24 on each machine, leaving you with 46 tracks, usable tracks in total. In order to accommodate for that, I'm going to use subgroups so we can populate a 48-channel SSL desk and two Studer tape machines. The first thing I'm going to do is to insert a Studer tape machine across all the tracks, but not the individual backing vocals, so just on the subgroup returns. We're going to use the Studer A800, which was available back then, at 30 inch per second. So we're going to set the tape speed to 30 inch per second. We are going to use the tape noise because I want this to be realistic. So with this amount of tracks, we're going to accumulate a lot of noise, which is fine when there's signal with the noise, because then it will go through all the effects, it will get filtered by the EQs on the desk, but we will have to gate it, which would have been possible since you would have channel dynamics on the SSL E-Series, which means you would have a gate on every channel. In this video, I'm not going to show how I take the levels going into tape. You can see all that in this video. So now that we have everything recorded to tape, I'm going to set all the faders to -9 dB, except for the lead vocal, which will be at -3 dB, and the backing vocals, which will be at -6. So that should give me a rough idea about how the song sounds.
In the fairyland, you pay by the hour.
Let's skip to the chorus.
You thought you figured it out, but baby, it's gonna cost.
So this is completely dry, there's no processing. And as you can see, when I play everything where the faders are all at -9, I get decent level, and this is a good starting point. So I'm going to mute all the vocals for now, and we're gonna concentrate on the backing track. As you can see, there's tons of synths here. So in reality, we would have to do some internal bouncing and premixing in order to reduce the track count. But since I can run all that live on this machine, we'll just ignore that. Let's listen to the drums and the bass. So the shaker and tambourine are very loud. We don't need them that loud. The hi-hat is quite loud. We have this mic here, which I'm not That's kind of cool. It's already recorded with some compression. I'm not sure we're going to use it. Let's leave it out for now. Let's listen to the overheads. The overheads is the heart of the drum kit sound because it gives us the stereo image. Sounds to me like it was recorded with some EQ and compression, but it's kind of cool. Let's listen to the room. The room is recorded mono, which is not ideal. I'm not sure I'm going to use it right now. So let's start mixing the drum kit. I'm going to run everything through a virtual SSL desk. And let's start with the kick. The first thing we can do is to gate the kick. We want fast attack. And then I'm going to find a range in the low mid, which is kind of boxy, and take it out while adding lows. There's a lot of mid on this kick and it sounds like it was tuned quite high. So I'm going to try to deflate it somehow. So here, there's another kind of cardboard frequency, which I'm going to take out, add some punch. And let's see what the kick out mic sounds like. So from here, we can get a lot of lows, which we need. Let's hear them both together. Yeah, that makes sense. Again, let's cut some low mid here. That's fine. Let's listen to the snare. Fast attack. Nice. That's an 80s pop song, so we want it very clean. We don't need any kind of live feel. We want it very slick, poppy sounding. Let's add some 4.5, 5K to give it that distinct punch. And now we can compress it. The SSL compressor is amazing, and with the snare drum there are two approaches. One is the fast attack and one is the slow attack. To make it more smooth and pop and kind of more artificial, almost sounding like a sample, you would use the fast attack. But then you lose a lot of punch. And back then there were no transient shapers or anything like that that you could use. So let's go with the slow attack, but more compression. So that gives it a different type of punch. And we need some more mid and highs. And now we're going to add the snare bottom mic, which gives it the highs and the decay. It's always worth checking whether they were recorded in phase, because one is facing down and the other is facing up. So you need to flip the phase on the bottom snare mic, which was done here in the recording, and we can listen to the difference. So now, if I flip the phase, it sounds kind of hollow. Yeah. I'm not going to do much to the bottom mic. That's a nice sounding snare. Let's look at the hi-hat. So here we can cut a lot of lows and a lot of mid. Quite thick cymbals used here. I would choose more kind of thinner ones, but that's what we have. So I'm gonna use most of the bends to just make it very thin, and then I'm gonna use the bell with the magic 8K, and I'm gonna use compression. Again, I'm not looking for a live feel here. I'm looking for something which is very controlled, and this is going to be very, very quiet. Let's listen to the kick, snare, and hat. Gonna pan it to the side a little bit. I always mix drums from the drummer's perspective. I play drums, so it feels natural to me. But my argument is everyone mixes the piano from the player's perspective, so why not the drums? For consistency, and this is how I'm used to doing it, I always do it like that. Let's add the overheads. The overheads give the kit space. For a track like that, I would definitely use fast attack. To get that quite squashed. Again, bell and add some 8K and take out some of that even wider. I'm not concerned about the lows, that's fine. If you like my videos, you may want to subscribe to this channel because it encourages me to make more. Now let's look at the bass. So the bass already received some processing, some distortion. It sounds quite cool. Some of the synths are a bit loud. This one is a little bit harsh sounding. What's that? That's a bit loud. Let's look at some of the guitars. Very 80s. But we can give it a little bit of presence in the mids. Maybe 500, something like that, just to give it some body. I don't think it needs much more. Nice. This guitar is so thin, it almost sounds like a shaker. I'm gonna try to get rid of some of that squelchy. Yes. Much better. And again, I'm going to revive it by giving it some mid. Nice. That's how it was. Very percussive and thin. Now it serves more harmonic function. So we have two of those. And the question is, why do we need to? Let's try to mute one. Yeah, it's all coherent. A bit of top. So very quickly we have the foundation of the song and it works quite well. Now we can look at space, how we can use effects to give it nice placement. I'm going to send both snare mics to a non-linear reverb, which was very popular at the time. Normally, you would use either the Lexicon 200 or the AMS RMX16 to get that kind of non-linear reverb. But since I haven't got those as plugins, I'm going to use a convolution reverb and load an impulse response of the RMX16 non-lin program. I'm going to use the Space Designer, but any impulse response based reverb will do. And I have some impulse responses that I've sampled myself. And immediately you get that sound. What may have been possible back then, depending on how many channels you had on your desk, would be to EQ the effect return, which I'm going to do here. That's a very 80s approach. I want to try to send the kick to that reverb as well. Normally, today, you wouldn't do something like that, but if you hear it on the kick and the snare in context, it sounds very 80s. Without, just gives it that vibe. Let's see what we can do with this mic. Let's compress it even more. Problem is that it has a lot of hi-hat in it, so I'm going to try to gate it out. Now a hold function would be good, but I can use the Drummer 201 equivalent, which would have been available back then. So I'm going to insert it before the SSL channel, which on the desk would mean from the tape return to the line in. And I'm going to use the logic gate, which has very similar functionality to the Drummer 201. And I'm going to cut the lows and the highs on the sidechain, which would have been possible on the Drummer 201. That's what we want. And now with the hold time, let's go. And this will happily go into the non-lin reverb quite a bit. And now we can send a little bit less of the snare because we have this mic sending to the reverb. And we can automate this track, so maybe in the chorus we want more of it. Desk automation would have been available back then on the SSL desk. Now let's look at the toms. And they definitely want to go to that gated reverb or non-lin reverb. Very nice. Could be louder. Nice. I think the floor tom wants some lows. Yeah. Lower. And let's get rid of some of the low mid. Yes. I'm just gonna copy this channel and see what it does, except for the panning. Now let's copy that over to the rototom. So here we'll probably want like an explosive snare on this halftime part. Let's send it to another auxiliary. Now on the SSL it would not be possible to automate synth. You could only automate the fader and the mute, but you could send the snare to another channel and use that as a send to send to a bus or an auxiliary and then automate the send. And here I'm going to use the RMX16 ambience. Yeah, so this could be louder. I'm going to automate the send. We want to add some top to that return. Too much? Nevo? I think that's the verse, so it should be a bit quieter. Let's look at the bass. I think it can have a bit of low added to it. Nice. Some compression while we're here. Now, the kick out sounds a little bit boomy, so we don't need that much in the low range. And I want to use the EQ before the compressor, so the compression will catch more of the lows. Nice, I can even use fast attack, so it's more contained. Now I'm just gonna add some reverb to the synths. Let's use a plate, which would have been available. Let's look at the lead vocal.
In the fairyland, you play by the hour.
So the first thing I'm going to use is a de-esser. The DBX520 would have been available. We're going to use an equivalent. So this is the most basic de-esser.
In the fairyland, you play by the hour.
Let's go to the chorus.
You thought you figured it out, but maybe it's not.
For compression, the BSS compressor was very popular back then. Let's use that. Bit of makeup.
In the fairyland,
Nice. has a very effective peak limiter.
You can still pretend as long as you pay back.
Just as a safeguard. And it also has a very soft
No one will
de-esser, which I'm going to use as well.
come and say hello. You thought you figured it out,
Just want to make sure that it doesn't get the actual voice when she sings really loud.
you wanna make my friend, maybe it's gonna cost you.
There's something on the snare which is a little bit spiky. So I'm going to use the BSS as well, just for the peak limiter and maybe the ESSER. Yeah, that tames it really nicely. Some de-essing as well. At very high frequencies like 6. Yeah. The idea is to make the drums really even. So almost like a drum machine. Yeah, much better. Even more. This wouldn't have been a problem if we used the fast attack on the SSL compressor. So let me just copy this channel and try bypassing the BSS and flick to the fast attack. See? We need some makeup gain. But we lose the body of the snare. I can add some lows in bell mode, which is like just the body. And I can low pass. That's also a nice approach. I think the one we had was better. Let's look at some effects for the vocal, especially for this section. So we can use the plate we already have. The TC2290 would have been available back then. We're going to use something kind of similar.
You thought you figured it out, but baby, it's gonna cost you some.
Just a very simple stereo delay.
You wanna
And I'm going to send the return back to the plate.
cost you some.
So the repeats are not dry.
You thought you figured it out, but baby, it's gonna cost you some.
I have some filters
You wanna
on the delay.
I'm a proud
That's better.
baby, it's gonna cost you some.
So this would work for this section.
You thought you figured it out, baby, it's gonna cost you some.
Let's see how it sounds in the verses. It's not bad actually.
You can still pretend as long as you pay.
So it needs to be a lot quieter here. And again, we would have been able to automate the send if we route it to a free fader and then use the fader to send it to the delay and automate the send. A little bit complicated, but it would have been possible. Obviously a lot easier doing it today. So I'm going to just automate it. And then in these sections, ride it up a little bit. So it's a little bit much, and I'm going to ride it at the endings of the vocal. Let's go to this part. The other thing that was very common on vocals in the 80s was a harmonizer. And we're going to use a preset I did for the doubler, which kind of replicates the AMS DMX harmonizer.
You thought you figured it out, but baby, it's gonna cost you some.
So it's going through an FX or exciter, which was available back then, which gives it some brightness. I think that that will be very effective in the verses, because it makes it wide and kind of, and I'm just using the high frequencies of that. Otherwise, actually that's not too bad. A little bit less. Tones are quite loud. And the snare can come up. Okay, now we need some EQing for the vocal, and for that I'm going to use the Pultec EQ. And I'm going to go for the 8K. And I'm even going to go for boost at 100, just to give it some body. In this instance, what I would do is have the de-esser before the SSL channel. So again, going from the tape return into the line in, then using the SSL EQ, and from there going to the BSS and the Pultec. So we're going to replicate that, because I just want the high mid from the SSL EQ. That's all. Maybe some top bell, 8K. Can't go wrong with that.
As long as you pay by the hour, no one will bother. Come and say
Rapido. Low mid while we're here. And now I'm going to use the SSL compressor just to tame the dynamics that the EQ introduced. So I'm going to use fast attack, very low ratio, and just to smoothen it a little bit. I can use long release. Just as a kind of a leveler, even more, like more sensitive on the threshold and less on the ratio. And we will need some automation on the vocal at some point.
No one will bother. Come and say hello, my friend. Hello, my friend. Hello, my friend. In a scary way, they all know what you've been up to. No one will doubt you. Come and say hello, my friend. You thought you figured it out.
Now here we have the harmonies. First we have the vocal doubles throughout the song. So here I want heavy de-essing.
You can still pretend.
We don't need any of the sibilant kind of
As long as you bye bye
content here.
what
And then I'm just going to use the SSL channel with compression, with fast attack and slow release. And this could be like a limiter.
you can still pretend.
So I want it
As
solid.
long as you bye bye what
And then I can
no
carve
one will bother.
some space
Come and say
from this range
hello, my
for the
friend.
lead vocal. And this wants to go to the AMS doubler or harmonizer. Quite a lot.
You can still pretend.
Nice.
As long you can still pretend.
Lower the level a little bit.
Bye bye the awkward. No one will bother. Come and say hello, my friend.
What I want on these doubles is a slap delay. This would have been available using like an MXR digital delay or something like that, Delta Labs.
Maryland, you bye bye the awkward.
Nice. Even more.
You can still pretend. As long as you bye bye the awkward.
Okay, let's look at the chorus. Backing vocals.
You thought you figured.
So we want to just copy the same. Basically, I could have pre-mixed those tracks with the doubles because they're doing the same thing. However, in the chorus, I want to use the plate as well.
You thought you figured it out. Baby, you gotta go to side. You thought you figured it out. Baby, you thought you figured it out. Baby, it's gonna cost you some.
Nice. And let's look at the other BPs. I'm just going to copy the previous setup and hope for the best.
You can't help yourself from wondering when again.
Vocal is a bit loud here.
No one will judge you. Come and say hello, my friend. Back in your bed at nighttime. Grass is already wet with the morning dew.
And we have one more harmonies group. I'm just going to copy same setup again. Here, since they're doing the counter melody thing, I need the mate. Vocal is a bit loud in this section. Some of the synths need reverb, like this one. Maybe a delay as well, so we can use the one we have.
You pay by the hour. You can still pretend. No one will bother. Come and say hello, my friend. In a scary way, they all
This snare kind of double hits. I found them a bit loud. I'm going to just bring it down. Again,
scary way.
track automation,
They all know what you've been up to.
just that. Yeah.
In a scary way, they all know what you've been up to.
This guitar is a little bit loud. It's a bit bright. My master channel looking quite good. And since we're working on an SSL E desk, we would use the SSL masterpass compressor. So let's use that. My go-to preset would be 4:1 ratio, slow attack, so we get that punch. Instant 80s vibe. Now here's something a bit loud. Why do we need two of those? One is enough. These two are a little bit loud. Definitely. What about here? Yeah, I think it's just in this section. The tones kind of need individual riding, but I'm going to cheat and just slice them and give them all the same peak level just because I can. So now they will peak at the same level, which I think will hit them still kind of 80s big impact toms. This would have been done by riding the channel level, and that would take a couple of hours or an hour, something like that, just to do that. Luckily, we're not there. The crash needs some reverb. Here's the play. And actually the toms can go to the plate as well. Even though they're going to the non-lin reverb, they can get a little bit of space. Doesn't sound like it needs much more. Now this would have been recorded to a 2-track tape. I'm going to use the Ampex 2-track for that. I'm going to use a 1/2 inch block at 30 inch per second. And from there, it would have been sent to the mastering room and would probably go through something similar to the PG mastering desk. And there, a little bit more compression. Maybe a high-pass filter. Nice. A bit of widening. Bass maybe a bit loud. Now here we have the benefit of hearing the mix through the mastering chain, which wouldn't have been possible back then because we would have had to print it to tape and then send it to the mastering room. Maybe a little bit of top. And then it would go through a de-esser, which would be a Neumann de-esser, which is a part of the cutting machine because you have to have a de-esser to protect the cutting head. Something like that. Let's go to the loudest part of the song. And then to vinyl. Now, since we're already using the TG desk, I can bypass it here. Here we have two options. We can listen to the lacquer, which is what would have been cut on the cutting machine, which would be of a much higher quality than the print. Or the print, which comes back from the factory. It's actually quite nice because it kind of packs everything together. So this has much more headroom, but in this case, I actually prefer this. Vocal is still a bit loud in the verse.
No illusions, no surprises. You always know what you'll find there.
See if the same applies to the first verse.
In the fairyland,
Quite loud.
you pay by the hour. In the fairyland,
And she comes in a little bit aggressively.
in the fairyland, you pay by the hour. You can still pretend
Same thing here.
as long as you. In the fairyland, you pay by the hour.
So at this stage, I'm going to spend maybe half an hour or something like that on small tweaks and balancing, maybe a bit of automation, and that's what it would sound like eventually.
In a fairyland, you pay by the hour. You can still pretend as long as you pay by the hour. No one will bother. Come and say hello, my friend. In a scary way, they all know what you've been up to. You can read your lines again. At least you'd feel like you've been listened to. No one will doubt you. Come and say hello, my friend. You thought you figured it out, but maybe it's gonna cost you some. It's gonna cost. You wanna make mama proud, but maybe it's gonna cost you some. It's gonna cost you. In a fairyland, you come to surrender. No illusions, no surprises. You always know what you'll find there. No one will judge you. Come and say hello, my friend. Back in your bed at nighttime, the grass is already wet with the morning dew. You can't help yourself from wondering when again. Come and say hello, my friend. You've reached to the bottom. Help yourself from wondering when. You thought you figured it out, but maybe it's gonna cost you some. It's gonna cost. It's gonna cost. You wanna make mama proud, but maybe it's gonna cost you some. It's gonna cost you. You thought you figured it out, but maybe it's gonna cost you some. It's gonna cost. It's gonna cost. You wanna make mama proud, but maybe it's gonna cost you some. It's gonna cost you. In a fairyland. Come and say hello, my friend. Come and say hello, my friend. In a fairyland, my friend. Come and say hello, my friend.
If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do, and I will see you on the next one.